Hey, y'all. Ooh, from that angle, I look tired. I'm going to sit back a little bit. This angle looks a little better to me. What do you guys think? Just going to give it a few seconds for a few. Hey, y'all. Ooh, from that angle, I look tired. I'm going to sit back a little bit. This angle looks a little better to me. What do you guys think? Just going to give it a few seconds. Echo. Hold on a second. Okay. I think I had something open on my screen. Hey, I have somebody in here with me. I'm going to pop open Facebook here so that way I can keep up or try to keep up with comments a little bit more than I usually do. So, okay, we have one person in. So I'm just going to go ahead and get started. How was your week? How was my week? Well, obviously, I had a few things that were very triggering this week. So, as always, I have my bowl full of topics here. Looks like I have a Superman thing going on. Get back there. My bowl full of topics here with random topics that I find to be triggering throughout the week. That I come and I share my raw thoughts with you, because the last time I thought about them, I was writing it down and throwing it into the bowl. And the next time I see them, it's right here live with you. So here we go. First topic. Let's see. Oh, Seneca Village. Okay, so this week I spent a lot of time just like filling my brain space. Hold on a second. Looks like we have. Yeah. I have someone who's trying to get on, who's saying who's getting a notice that says I'm going to start shortly. Let me just double check. Let's see. Go to Facebook. Do you see me looking down? Sorry, guys. I gotta, make sure my VIPs get in, who've been following my journey of me talking about everything from fashion to the red carpet to politics. So, gotta make sure they get in. Something weird is going on with my hair, but we're not even gonna get into that. So, back to our first topic. So, the first topic I pulled out. You guys can't see, but anyway, Seneca Village. This is a Black and Irish community that was thriving in the space where Central Park now exists. And I wonder what happened to Seneca Village and all the Black people who were thriving there. You guessed it, a little bit of Black history. They were shoved out, thrown out, locked up, beat down, killed, all of that good stuff, all of that bad stuff that they did. And now we have Central Park, where Seneca Village used to be. Next topic. 70% of resources need to be imported into Europe. This is a topic that I actually want to put down on a banner, because we need to get into this a little bit. Let's see, that's 70% of resources need to be imported into Europe. Bear with me, guys. This is the first time that I'm actually doing my live while trying to also add banners. Usually I have them done before, but I'm trying something new. Okay, so here we go. 70% of resources need to be imported into Europe. That makes me think Europe, are you barren? Are you and your people bearing any fruit? What this this topic that you guys see right here on the banner, 70% of resources need to be imported into Europe. That is that is a loaded topic. There is a lot that goes into that. There's a lot of research that I need to do to really be able to tackle this that I haven't done. But this came across like my table, I think early this morning or whenever it came across, and I just had to write it down and mention this as a topic because when you think about anyone who needs 70% of whatever it takes for them to survive to come from somewhere else, naturally it puts you in an aggressive, savage state. So just want to think about that for a moment. Next topic. Ooh, recognizing micro racist aggressions. Let's put this in here. Let's see. Edit. Micro racist aggressions. Let's just say aggressions for now. Show. Okay, so the reason why I'm pointing this out is because, like, a conversation that I'm having with a lot of people is I'm not going out to protest. COVID's still out there. I don't feel comfortable. I get that. I also don't know if I want to be that public on social media because, I still have to worry about my job and my livelihood. I get that. And to that point, one of the places where I want to kind of like raise your awareness is in our everyday life where we see micro racist forms, microaggressions, or just like forms of racism that aren't very obvious to, obviously they're not obvious to someone who's not experiencing it, but if you aren't paying attention, and honestly, if you're just so beat down and you're just so used to the normal that used to be, then they're easy to miss. So I was reading an article today on bbc.com, and I noticed a sentence that said, "Death in police custody of African American George Floyd." Now, when you read this sentence or hear this sentence, it's like, okay, so facts are George Floyd died in police custody. What could be wrong with this sentence? I'm going to read it again and maybe you can like hear it or catch it. If you do, let me know. Send me a text, drop a comment. I'm here, I'm looking. Death in police custody of African American George Floyd. Can you guess the micro racist aggression in this statement? Like, this is where we are in life now. But anyway, do you see it? Let me check the comments, see if anyone does. Okay, so the issue that I'm pointing out here is instead of calling George Floyd a man, they just completely leave that out. And I think to leave that out, to not say an African American man, George Floyd, somehow it just dehumanizes him in a way, and I found it offensive that he wasn't referred to as a man, because remember, this is an issue with racism. Being able to see and hear Black people as human beings, as a man, as a woman, that is an issue. So just being able to point that out, even when we're reading articles, like we keep saying, our life matters. So refer to him as what he was, what he is, a man. So, next topic. Adriana, I'm looking at your text message coming in. That's why I keep looking down. So, okay. Ooh, this is one that's interesting. Black academics, Black success stories, Black athletes, whatever you want it to be, people who move in. Ooh, I think I'm talking a little too loud. People who move in an environment that is not where or how they grow up, if you know what I mean. So, my original statement is Black academics, are we just navigating white supremacy well, or are we pushing to end it? I can say for myself, I don't feel that before the current civil rights movement, I wasn't really pushing against it. I would say I was navigating it well. And by navigating it well, I mean, I wasn't calling things out. You know, even with the BBC article that I just mentioned about micro racist aggressions, I I in my own life had internalized it and normalized it, and it was just I just went with the flow. That's what I was saying. So this isn't something that I'm bringing up to say, oh, what are Black academics and success stories and people who made it out of the hood or whatever. It is like, what are they doing? Even in my own life, I feel like I wasn't pushing against it, but I am now. Live at 9 every Tuesday. Let me just make sure that I get this topic here. One second, you guys. Are we pushing against or navigating? Sure. Okay, so yeah, so just to kind of recap this comment, this topic, it's Black academics, Black success stories, anyone who's kind of made it out of the hood, who knows what it feels like to grow up one way and wish you could live your adult life a different way. If that is your story, ask yourself, are you navigating white supremacy or are you pushing against it? As you just heard me say, I was just navigating it, just dealing with it. Whatever came my way, that was just it. But now I have my own new personal agenda, certain things that I will not do anymore, certain companies that I'll never work for again. Um, because, protesting isn't just about, or the revolution isn't about like, oh, yes, it's about unity and it's about everyone in the masses, but it's also about the revolution that happens within. How are you every day in your life taking a stance in just the way you care for yourself? Self care can be a protest. Loving yourself, and the energy that puts out to you, your family, your loved one, those around you. So yeah, protesting, we can do it in so many different ways, and I think that's the most important way, to be honest, too. It's not just about, well, I donated here and I went out here. It's about the revolution that takes place within, and that you, because of that, or as a derivative of that, pass that on to your children, and that becomes your legacy. And that's really how we begin to change. That's one way how we begin to change the plight of our people. Next topic. So this is just a note about I'm working on a written project focused on children and just kind of getting children from both sides of the race spectrum to understand like what this means for me, what can I do to make it better. And I really want to use affirmative language. So I just threw this in there because I want to share it with you. It's not a draft at all. It's just an example of the language that I want to use. Don't be afraid. Be focused, be determined, be empowered. Next topic. Black activism is not Black terrorism. The reason why I put this down is because if you live in a neighborhood near, in, or around wherever any of the Black Lives Matters protests were going down, you heard it. Helicopters swarming hours before, hours after, cops posted up. Like, honestly, one time I swear I saw officers posted up with the barricades and everything, like at least I want to say it was definitely at least a day. I feel like it was 2 days, but I'll just be nice and say it was at least a day. But it's like, why would you do that unless you see Black activism as terrorism? You must see it as a threat. So, just a little food for thought. Next topic. I am not doing a good job at changing the banner with my topic, so let's focus on doing that now. Oh my goodness, now this is a topic that's been getting on my nerves for real this week. And I was like, I kind of didn't want to talk about this because I feel like talking about it in a way is doing exactly what I'm complaining about. But y'all know I believe in being authentic, and it's like, it's on my heart, it's on my chest. So I gotta talk about it. So, here we go. What are Black celebs doing? I'm gonna put a WTF on that. Show. Okay. So if you're like me, you're watching the news, you're like following certain hashtags. I'm trying to be quiet because 11 sounds like he's kind of waking up. You're following certain hashtags, you're getting involved. You're like, you better post your Black square, or else, you know what, you're not really down with Black Lives Matter. And then I'm on YouTube and I keep clicking, and everything isn't about politics. I see, and I don't even want to mention their names because it's kind of embarrassing, but I see Black celebs like K. Michelle, No Name, who's a rapper that I never heard of, J. Cole, arguing about, excuse my language, like things that don't even matter. And I'm like, okay, I understand that not everyone is going out. I understand that not everyone wants to be vocal. But what I don't understand are Black celebs who, before this, were in their own way, pro-Black, even if in a small way, who are now completely ignoring the national conversation that's going on, and who are accusing each other of, oh gosh, it's so embarrassing, of sleeping with someone like a decade ago who isn't connected to. The point is, what are we doing? Why are we talking about this when other things are going on? Keep your eye on the prize. If you have nothing to contribute, be quiet. And I would ask that our Black celebs who are talking about things that don't matter, understand that you have a certain kind of influence and you have the power. And because you have that power, you owe it to your people to steer the conversation. At least keep the conversation on the civil rights movement. Why in the hell am I seeing any bloggers, even like you, Instagram comedians who aren't doing stand-up and all that, who are just doing like a skit here and there? If it's not helping the movement right now, when we actually have some momentum, you are against. I'm not gonna say that because like some people got canceled and this is a cancel culture and I just don't have time. All I'm gonna say is ask yourself, what I'm doing, what I'm saying, is it helping my people? If not, I'm not saying it. Don't do it. I don't care. Just don't. So annoying. I keep hearing 11, but I'm not sure like if he's gonna come in. If he comes, we may have to like cut this live short, real short. I should have closed the bedroom door. Okay, so a lot of times when I'm watching the news now, people are like defending, well, the reason why this person was shot is because, they shouldn't be doing that because that's illegal. Or the reason why that person was this or that, it's because that's illegal or it's the law. Something being legal doesn't make it humane. It's the law does not make it right. That's simple language, okay? It's the law does not make it right, or even it's the policy. Can we just think back to like some of the shit in our, excuse me, some of the things, laws, policies in our country that we've had on the books that were absolutely ridiculous. So to turn on the news now and see reporters, saying, well, the reason why that happened and he'd still be here if, he just followed the policy and the procedure. If we went along with everything that was policy and procedure in this country, do I really need to finish that comment? Like, if Black people went along with everything that was a policy, a procedure, and a law in this country, we wouldn't even be here right now trying to fight for civil rights. We'd still be trying to. Next topic. General wealth is not a trust fund. This is another argument I see going around, mainly on Facebook and Twitter. I didn't look at the Instagram hashtag. It might be there too. But general wealth is not a trust fund. And it seems like people think like, oh, if I say that generational wealth is not a trust fund. Let me update my banner here. Generational wealth is not a trust fund. Sure. And it seems that people who are opposing the fact that generational wealth is a real thing are are confused by the idea, or they think like it means if no one gave me a check, so that means generational wealth doesn't exist. Generational wealth has a lot to do with your self-concept. Your self-concept is something that's built, created, and nurtured between the ages of 0 to when you're born to 6 or 7 years old. Imagine if you grow up around people who at some point in their life experience their dreams coming true, what it means to accomplish something that you work on. And yes, Black people accomplish things that we work on, but a lot of times we start ourselves working and working and working and working and not getting a result. So self-concept is a form of generational wealth. 2, confidence that you can. Just confidence, because every image around you says you are capable, you are worthy, and that you should. So that's another form of generational wealth. Excuse me, just want to take a sip of water. Another form of generational wealth that I rarely see is the idea that coming from a certain background means you don't have a fear of the unknown when it comes to going beyond the limitations of the people around you. Even sometimes people just say well, I'll just be honest, even for me going away to school, there are some people that, I grew up with, very close to, family members who were just like, why do you have to go? Or what's wrong with the 2-year school? Why can't you just stay here? And I had to break through this fear of the unknown, like what's out there, ugh. Anyway, generational wealth, a form of it is also not having that fear, just being able to say, you know what, yes, I am going to go to this country, or yes, I am going to go away to school. Yes, I am going to explore, and that's okay. I'll be okay. Another form I have written down here is the legacy of ownership. I hate to admit it, but I really didn't know anyone who was a homeowner until, I went to college. That's another issue. That just sets your mind up. By the time I got to college, maybe my goals were here. Maybe they could have been here had I been exposed to more homeowners that I was personally related to. Number 5, last one I have on my list. Ooh, this is a good one. Generational wealth. Have you ever had to wonder if the person you're sending your resume to will know or think you're Black? And did that worry you or bother you. These are ways where like generational things come up, whether it be a last name or a first name. If you've never had to sit back and wonder, I wonder if they'll know I'm black, and I wonder if they'll like just automatically dismiss me from being a candidate, then you can't say that generational wealth doesn't exist. It does exist. You just don't experience it. Next topic. Let me see if I can actually check in and see if I see any topics. I don't see any topics here. Let me see if I see them on my phone through Facebook. I think oh, I do see some comments. Okay, I'm gonna have to get to that later because I don't know how to do all that at the same time. I'm an elder millennial, y'all. Elder millennial here. Taking my time after a long day of homeschooling. Homeschool today was all about like a field trip to go voting. Of course, we're gonna get into that too. I have a lot to say about that and some pictures. Okay. Okay, so this one is about the taking down the Theodore Roosevelt statue in front of the American Museum of Natural History. And around 1 p.m. today, Trump said it's ridiculous, don't do it, even though Theodore Roosevelt's great-grandson said he agrees, take it down. It doesn't reflect the actual legacy of his grandfather or the legacy that they want to move forward with. That part. Just thought you guys would want to know that. Next topic. Chicago is bleeding. Wait a minute. Have y'all been paying attention to what's going on in Chicago? Like, I wasn't paying attention, but like, I got the alert today. Hold on a second. I can't even type fast enough. Chicago is okay. So over Father's Day weekend alone, there were 104 shootings. That's one weekend. 104 shootings. 14 deaths in one weekend. The longest a weekend could possibly go is like if you include the Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 3 days. Okay, and if not the Friday, then the Saturday, Sunday, 2. Either way, it's 3 days, 104 shootings. And then in the last weekend in May, there were 85 shootings and 24 fatalities, making it the deadliest weekend in Chicago history in years. I don't know about you, but when I see numbers like 104 shootings in one weekend, and you know, like I'm just thinking it's not the entire region of Chicago, like it's certain areas. There's got to be a war going on. Like something is going down. Chicago is burning. Chicago is bleeding. Something needs to happen. And in a time when we're all like civil rights and Black people, the question is like, what do we do about Chicago? To be honest, we pray for Chicago and we hope that they hold on out there. Honestly, I would pray that they immediately turn their energy. Take that how you want to take it. But that's not going to happen. So I say we pray for Chicago, that they hold on, that they survive. Pray for peace until the civil rights movement like picks up more steam, and we have organizations and groups that can actually absorb and handle the situation that's going on over there. Because I think it's something that we do need to handle. We're not there technically as a national community yet, but something needs to be done. Next topic. Creating deeper bonds with members of your circle. Oh, Also, this is something that I put in here because it's something that I appreciate that COVID and protest has given me, trying to see the silver lining and something that's a pandemic, protest. The silver lining for me is that I'm able to form new and deeper connections with people who are already in my life. One of them being Paul Marejon, who is one of my best friends. He's also my son's godfather. Before this, we were very close. We connect very much as artists and just as souls on this earth journey. But come to find out, Paul is also my protest bae. Like, that's who, if I'm going out there, Paul's coming with me. If he's going out there, I'm trying to go with him. So that's a different way that we have been able to connect, because I'm not connecting that way with all of my friends, all of my close friends. Everyone has their different reasons. Some want to be, some can't, for whatever reasons, or some just, do I have any close friends who aren't paying? No, I don't have any close friends who aren't paying attention. But so yeah, that's just a different way that he and I have been able to connect. Also, with another one of my best friends, Adriana, we have connected on the intensity of what we are feeling, which that in itself is a good feeling. I make this joke, like, you need someone that you can just be like, you know what, I am mad as hell and I can't take it anymore. This is how I'm feeling. So just having an outlet, a friend that you can share that with is amazing. And I have to say, I'm grateful that, again, take this with a grain of salt, I am always looking for something to be grateful for in the midst of everything that's crazy. So I am grateful that I've had that I'm able to see this intensity in one of my best friends, her see it in me, and then find a home for someplace where it is comfortable for me to share. So yeah, shout out to Protest Bay and your pissed off friends who are like, you know what, I'm mad as hell too, because there's a lot going on. Next topic. Ooh, Keith Ellison. He is the Attorney General in Minnesota. At him. Let's make sure that he understands what we want. Keith, I'm going to write it here so that way you guys can see it. Copy it, write it down. Take it to Twitter, Instagram, wherever you like to hang out and get your social media protests on. At him. And what we want Mr. Keith Ellison to do is convict and sentence accordingly. Don't come at us with some silly 1 month probation. That's not what we're protesting for. Show. Okay, so Keith Ellison, he is the Attorney General in Minnesota. I should put in Minnesota so that way you guys know. 1 second. Again, if anyone knows like the up-to-date story on this, on where this is, I am not up to date on this as of like yesterday. So if you know some updates on this that are like pertinent, not anything like, okay, they walked and blah, 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 let me know, at me, or leave it in the comments. Ooh, okay, next topic. Wait, show. Okay, next topic. So Bubba Wallace, he is the only Black NASCAR full-time driver. So let me repeat that in a way that's understandable. Bubba Wallace is the only full-time driver with NASCAR. About a week ago, NASCAR had banned the display of Confederate flags. This is taking me a while to get it out because it's like so much with this story. Sunday before NASCAR banned the display of Confederate flags, it was actually Bubba Wallace who made the call saying that, it's like, guys, I got myself a Black Lives Matter t-shirt. I think the next step would be for us to remove Confederate flags from NASCAR, from wherever they race, the racetracks and their cars. I'm like, stadium, do they call it stadiums? I don't know. What I'm trying to tell you is Bubba Wallace is the only black man driving over there in NASCAR, okay? And he made the call to NASCAR saying, y'all need to take down these Confederate flags. Then they did it. Then all hell broke loose. I even saw a video of like some representative from NASCAR who's actually down for removing the Confederate flags, telling people who are not down for it, who were throwing threats at him, like, literally, this man said, don't come at me. I know what I'm talking about. I am the great grandson of a slave owner. Like, they're out here arguing anything and everything. But the story is Bubba Wallace, the only full-time NASCAR driver who's a black man. I keep getting tongue-tied with this. He called for NASCAR to remove the Confederate flags. They did so. And recently, there was a noose found in his truck. A noose. Let me write this one down. Bubba Wallace, who is the only black NASCAR driver noose found in the car. So I don't know about you if you're connecting the dots there, but it's very obvious. That's about, he, depending on who you're talking to, Mr. Wallace was very bold, and certain people want to tell others to stay in their place and send a warning. I personally think that's exactly what the noose was about. They're trying to say now that it was a misunderstanding. Next topic. And the reason why I'm moving on to the next topic, don't worry, that's just water. The reason why I'm moving on to the next topics is because, like, some things just, I'm not going to argue certain things. Like, this man went up against NASCAR, asked them to remove Confederate flags in a bold public way. So then they do. And then there's a noose found in his truck. We know what it's about. Just like I know what it's about when there are black people hanging from a tree. It's not suicide. I don't care what investigation, what black person do you know who would actually hang themselves from a tree? Suicide, okay. I'm not saying suicide is okay. What I'm saying is, you want to commit suicide? I just don't know any black person that's going to say, in the middle of a civil rights movement, I am going to hang myself from a tree. Next topic. Expressing yourself directly is a luxury robbed of black women. No matter what, we are more often than not critiqued before we are received. So let me put this down in the banner here. Let's talk about this. Angry black woman. Says who? Sure. Okay. So what I'm basically saying here is, I'm still on this like transition of dealing with, how do I want to put it? Not transition, but just going up against the grain of like this whole angry black woman thing, and also giving myself and my peers room to say, yeah, I am angry, and that's okay. And as this thought continues to process through my brain, one of the things that came up this week was Think about how often, as soon as a Black woman doesn't have a smile on her face, shit, maybe she has gas and she's making a face about that. Everyone is like, oh boy. The first reaction, honestly, like be honest with yourself. Think about it. Is your first reaction, are you okay? Did something happen to you? Are you upset? Or is it, oh boy, somebody better watch out. I wonder who she's mad at. Or here we go again. Just think about that. That's all I'm saying. Just think about that. And when you think about that, think about this statement. Black women are often critiqued for expressing themselves before they are received. Next topic. Every time I see a confused face say, well, maybe if like he didn't actually resist the arrest, or what about, well, his car was parked like in the way and it was blocking people. So like maybe if he, maybe what? Maybe if I make an innocent mistake, it can result in me losing my life. Every time I see someone with a confused face, I just want to just, what are you confused about? How are you trying to justify, maybe if you look at it from this angle, you would see why he had to die? No, no one sees that. No one. And then under that, I put, maybe Dylan Roof's hunger shouldn't have mattered so much that they took him to a Burger King after a mass killing in a church. In a church. And we still have people sitting around talking about, maybe he shouldn't have tried to run from the cops who've been killing people who look like him. Next topic. So there's been some new content coming out. Let me update the banner for this one because I want to talk about this for a little bit. No new content. Only. It might make no sense, but like it makes sense in my head. So let's talk about it. Show. Okay. So I've seen some artists, content creators, musicians putting out music, whatever it is that like no one really, I don't really care about right now. And it's making me think like, do we need more content? Like, do we really need a new song, a new post, a new fashion line, a new video on how to wear this dress 9 times? I mean, even me, that's like my main shtick before Trigger Tuesdays, fashion talking about. But like, do we really need more of that? No. What do the people need? I think more than content, we need all of our artists to start thinking of themselves as change creators and real change, not just like talk about change and influence it and talk about pain, but really creating something that affects change in a direct way, not something that is talking or singing or even, expressing pain. We need to be doing any and everything that affects change. Next topic. That was a low-key read on an artist from this week. I'm not going to say the name. If y'all know, then you know, read between the lines. So I was watching this video on Instagram. It was this Asian American man who said, he straight up, and I don't want to like, I want to tell you what he said, but I can't really get too deep into it because like cultural boundaries, if you know what I mean. But he basically called his people out and he was like, We should do more than what we're doing. We didn't even come here until after, Black people fought for their rights. And because of that fight, we were able to come here. And then he straight up said, like, come on, like, we create bots for everything else. We can't create like social media bots that push the agenda and the voice of Black Lives Movement. And I was like, that's how you call your people out and throw your like culture behind a movement and stand with us in solidarity. He was just like, create a bot. Let's do this. I'm like, there are so many ways to protest. We can be creative about this. Yeah, like make a bot. Next topic. Okay, this one is something that we need to write down. Trump has appointed 160 judges. Trump has appointed 160 judges. This is crucial. Trump has appointed 160 judges. This is crucial, critical, fucking frightening, so many things, because these judges are like for life. These judges are the people who are going to really shape the country as we know it. Take that how you want to take it. Looking back in history, the first 67 judges were slave owners, and Trump, during his tenure in office, has appointed 160. People, listen, that's why it's important to have an agenda, a home agenda, a private agenda, a public agenda. Like, you just have to know what you want, because he probably doesn't even care about what clearly he doesn't care what we say, what we think. Everyone thinks he's an idiot. He has appointed, look at the screen, 160 judges. He's getting what the hell he wants done. Just saying, it's important that, point that out. And not get caught up in the minutia of the bullshit happening in culture. Like earlier when I was talking about people on social media talking about someone's personal life or what so-and-so is doing, who has the bag. Focus, keep your eyes on the prize. The revolution is within. Trump has appointed 160 judges. Oh my goodness, this one I need a picture for. Hold that thought. Let me find the picture. And I shouldn't be looking for the picture. I should just be talking. I'm trying to do too much. But you guys really need to see this picture. Okay, so there was a Juneteenth event at Fort Greene Park, right? Everyone's there. Black people are loving on Black people. Everyone has what looks like little pods, 6 feet apart, all that. There's this one woman who was hilarious to me. She calls herself the welcoming committee. There we go. She calls herself the welcoming committee, and saying hello to everyone. And then, let me just add this. I see this. People are there with their children. Families are out. How do I? Hold on a second. Share screen. Bear with me, you guys. I'm coming. What's going on? Is it not there? Hold on a second. Where's the picture that I want to show you? Screen. 1 second, because this one is really good. So let me just give you a little bit of background story again while I try to get this to load up. So Juneteenth, Black people are celebrating just Black life and just this newfound appreciation that we've never really experienced on a global scale. We're out there, families out there. Oh, I think I have it now. What is this? out there. Finally, I think that's it. Okay, here we are. So we're out there. Families are out there. We're out there with our children. And then we have a certain family come through, and their children are literally playing with rifles, and I don't know, it just looked like military machine guns. One little dude had a Rambo looking thing around his head. They're pulling out fake little plastic bullets. And it just made me think, like, what are you teaching your children? And what really bothered me about this, to be very honest, very frank with you, is that look who it's coming from. Here we are with our little black and brown children. You know, my kid was literally playing in the dirt with a stick. And then you have certain children from certain families and certain backgrounds who show up with big ass plastic guns with like little plastic bullets that they put in there. And it was just so upsetting to me because it's like, you know, can't we keep the innocence of children? And here we are, you know, black and brown people celebrating our emancipation, and the only people who show up with the gun, only people. So I'll be honest, you know me, the protest and the revolution is within. So at one point, like, it just looked like homeboy was like pointing a thing at me, and I picked one of the guns up. And I looked at it and held it like it was the most disgusting, vile thing I had ever seen in my life. And I explained to the two dads that were sitting there, like, you know, we're really trying to encourage peace, love, and happiness. And I'm just really uncomfortable with machine guns, whether real or simulated, around myself, my son, my family, my people. Would you mind if we just kept this event like a non-violent place and space for the children? He put it away. But I just wanted to point out, like, these are other places where, like, we've got to pay attention. And, like, maybe it was an oversight. Maybe it wasn't. I don't know. But what I am saying is, as a Black mom and as, you know, a mother in general to any Black and brown, any children I see around me, if I see children who are peacefully playing, I'm going to try to protect their peace. So the ones with the guns, beat it, scram. Next topic. So there's still issues with people hearing the phrase defund the police. We still have people who are like, why would you say that? Why would you want to defund the police? Why can't you just use a different term? Here's why we can't use a different term like reallocation or something like that. Because in negotiations, you aim high. No one's going to come in for this type of negotiation, for this type of change that is required to keep us safe, and say, hey, how about you just reallocate a couple G's? No, you got to go on strong. Shut the whole damn thing down. No? Okay, well, what can you do? You know? Start the negotiation high. Also, people who are using extreme situations to say, well, we can't just defund the police. Like, what would some of these, like, really violent places be without the police? Okay, so when we talk about, like, what's going down in Chicago right now, 104 people shot in one weekend, no one's going to just snatch the police out of that area. Stop being dramatic, okay? Defund also means divest, which means share the wealth. Spread it out. Do you guys hear that? We've been having fireworks. Like, I mean, if you grew up in New York City, you know that fireworks aren't just on the 4th of July. However, I do have to say and admit, it started like a lot earlier this year, and it's happening a lot longer throughout the evening. It doesn't bother me, but it's funny watching some of the Harlem imports, if you know what I mean, on Facebook groups who in the beginning were terrified, had no idea what was going on. Welcome. It's just a hood thing. It's just a classic. Um, so we have to move from tinkering to transforming. How are we changing in bigger ways? These are just some thoughts that I'm thinking about. Oh, okay. So when we think about tinkering, moving from tinkering to transforming, one of the things that comes up for me is like, what does it really mean and look like to defund the the police, right? Like how does that look? So one of the things that I wanted to point out is only 5% of the calls made to police are actually crime related. Let me write that down. Only 5% of calls to police are crime related. Sure. Okay, now I'm back to business. So if only 5% of calls to the police are crime related, why is it so difficult to understand, one, defunding the police is possible? Because they're only 5%. Duh. And two, that it's necessary. So what would that actually look like? Okay, so calls that should be going to social workers, for example, like if it's a call about anything that's domestic happening within a home, or especially with children, that's a social worker call. That social worker can then make the call and know, okay, as a trained professional, is this something that's now on a criminal scale? Do I need to call big boys in? Like, basically the point is we should be doing everything we can to solve an issue before we call the big bullies with guns, because they only have one resolution for everything. They just default to shooting. So that's not really a solution. Tupac said it best. We've been asking, and they killed them and put them in jail. So what is the next step? Let's write that down. Let's read that. Let's write this one down. Let's do it. We've been asking. Right now I'm reading the Athena Shakur biography. Obviously, there are a lot of references to her son, Tupac Shakur. Make this statement that I'm about to put up for you. So to anyone who's like, why are they so angry? To be honest with you guys, I legit put up an out of office last week, like sent it to anyone that I know, that I've worked with professionally, just to kind of give a heads up, in case you didn't know, there's a movement going on. Second heads up, in case you didn't know, I'm Black. And just so you know, as long as there is momentum in this movement, which to me means a safer place, a safer future for my son, I am going to be all the way as much involved as I possibly can, because I just feel that is my, not just my civic duty, but my duty as a mom to try to make this world a better place for him. So to people who don't understand that angst or that anger or their frustration. It's like, listen to Tupac. He said, we've been asking, how many protests do we know about? How many boycotts have you heard about? Just think about any February 1990, anything, February 20, anything. We hear the stories. We know that Black people have been asking for equality, for a certain level of treatment. But nothing has happened, and a lot of our leaders have ended up dead or in jail. So like Tupac said, we've been asking. They killed them and they put them in jail. So my question to you is, well, now what? What comes next? Because whenever I see people who just don't get it, I just want to remind you that this didn't just come out of nowhere. People didn't just wake up today and said, I'm going to go buck wild and lose my mind. Y'all have generational wealth and we have generational rage. Next topic. Ooh, and it's the last topic. I'm sleepy. Not really sleepy. You just know, like when you've been up all day, and I keep this light on, which like I love having a light. Like you need it if you're gonna be on camera, but it's really bright and I feel like it dries my eyes out. So I'm always squinting. The revolution is how we greet, treat, and interact with each other. Again, I'm really, really into like kind of explaining what, not what the revolution is because we get that, but really getting us to understand that revolution isn't always everything that's happening externally. The biggest place for a revolution to happen is within. And one place that we can do that, a place where I'm currently doing it, is just loving on my people and my community. Like as I'm walking down the street, I make sure that I say hello. I look at and I see every brother and every sister, and I greet them with a smile. You know, like, hey, what's up? How you doing? Like, and when I say, how are you? I really mean it. How are you? Are you okay? Because, you know, out here in these streets, it's a little rough for us. So I just want to leave you with that. Like, just think of how can I, in my everyday life, affect revolution and change? And one easy way is just to everyone you meet, greet, and interact with, just be aware and conscious of how you're treating them. Be humane in how you treat them. And when you look at them, really see them. When you ask someone how you're doing, really take the time to hear them, see what they have to say. So I leave you with that. There's so much that I wanted to get into that I did not get a chance to get into, but we've already been on here for an hour. That is my limit. I really wanted to go into like my kind of review and recap of the polls and what I saw there and some ideas that I have on like voting, how it's set up, how we need to like know more about it, where to find certain educational information before you actually walk into the polls. And I took notes like on this for you guys, which is different from my normal Trigger Tuesdays notebook. So I think I'm definitely not coming back tonight because I'm sleepy, but I think I might go live again either tomorrow or Thursday. If you are watching and you're down to hear my feedback on just like my experience of going through registration, going to vote, looking for information about what's on the ballot or who's on the ballot. Let me know if you're interested in that. I can do that tomorrow or Thursday. Let me know. Drop a comment below. If you're watching this on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe. I finally remembered to say that. Boom. I love you all. Bye.